Greetings, BookTube. Welcome back to the History Shelf. My name is Peg. So glad you could join me today. Here with a New History, New Month installment. We're looking at new history releases in January. Apologize for being a little late. I normally try to post these at the beginning of the month. But you know how it is when you head back to work after the holidays. It's a lot busier than you think it's going to be. This gets pretty busy. Anyway, guys, thanks for coming back and hanging out with me here. We don't have an overwhelming amount for January, at least the books that I've been sent, but there's enough here to really, sink your teeth into, and we got some thick books. So sit back, grab a cold drink or a hot drink, whatever your preference is, and get the pen and paper ready to see if you're going to write down a title here that you want to check out. Let's start with this. Oh, and also the good news is, exciting news is we've got a giveaway in this video we've got about 4 books, advanced reader copies that I'm looking at giving away. Now, when it comes to giveaways, I want to do something a little different. And I think it's easier than trying to, monitor comments that come in. I ask people usually to put down in the comments if they're interested in the giveaway. Since I have 4 different books, I'm going to ask you all to head to the About tab and find my business email address. And so if there's a particular book that you'd like to be, that you would like to enter into, like I say, competition for. Like if there's only one person asking for one book, they're going to get the book. But if there's more than one person asking for the same book, then I'll have to do a little random, spin the wheel and see who wins it. But this way I'll have your email address so that I can reply to you if you've won. In the past, it's been hard because I would wait a week for comments to come in, and then I would reply to that person saying, "Hey, you won," and if they didn't check back, then they wouldn't know about it. So anyway, find my business email address and drop me a note there if you're interested in the giveaway books, which I will say for the end of this video. So it behooves you, everyone, to stick around and watch the whole video. All right, well, we're going to kick things off with a brand new book on Thomas Jefferson. Coming out January 13th. Today's the publication date of Being Thomas Jefferson, An Intimate History, by Andrew Burstein. I got the finished copy. This is one of the books that will have a giveaway. So stay tuned. So let's find out. Oh, and this is put out by Bloomsbury. The great folks at Bloomsbury putting out some great new history titles. I've been noticing. This one's a little bit dinged up, but that's okay. I'm going to hold this up to you, to the camera, I should say, while I read. All right. Published today. Being Thomas Jefferson, An Intimate History, is the deepest dive yet into the heart and soul, secret affairs, unexplored alliances, and bitter feuds of a generally worshipped, intermittently reviled American icon, from accomplished Jefferson scholar and biographer Andrew Burstein. A prolific historian of early American politics and culture, long specializing in the life of the mind in bygone times, Burstein peels back the curtain on Jefferson. He shows the most articulate of the founding generation to have been a seductive, quietly ambitious theoretician who privately wavered between involvement and retreat, between conviction and irresolution, he writes. Let's see here. There's a lot in this pub sheet, but let me just see if I can get to the main stuff. Thomas Jefferson is nearly as famous for his unfathomable ability. Try saying that 3 times fast. Unfathomability. There we go. As for his mighty pen. He was both a gifted wordsmith and a bundle of nerves. That's me. His superior knowledge of the human heart is captured in personal correspondence correspondence, as well as in the impassioned appeal he brought to the Declaration of Independence. But as a champion of the common man who lived a life of privilege on a mountaintop plantation of his own design, he has eluded biographers who have sought to make sense of his contradictory inner life. I don't know if he's necessarily eluded biographers. I think there have been many great biographies on Thomas Jefferson, but we'll see. Let's keep reading to see what it is that he's going to reveal. In Being Thomas Jefferson, Burstein's close examination of Jefferson's rich, visceral, metaphorical language and the impulses he tries to hide, he peels away layers of artifice, taking us past the veneer of the animated letter writer to describe a confused lover and a misguided humanist who could never bring himself to embrace anti-slavery. Very true. Let's see. As assertive in his persecution of political enemies as he was a promoter of harmony, Jefferson was a soft-spoken man who recoiled from direct conflict, but was a master puppeteer in politics, convincing devoted allies to act as surrogates, to speak his mind and promote his causes. Yet whenever he left Monticello, where he could control his environment, he suffered debilitating headaches that plagued him until he finally retired from public life. So I guess we'll conclude with, what did it feel like to be Thomas Jefferson? Burstein explains the decision to take as his mistress Sally Hemings, the enslaved half-sister of his late wife, who bore him 6 children, none of whom he acknowledged. What a great guy. Presenting a society that encouraged separation between public and private, appearance and essence, Burstein paints a dramatic picture of early American culture and brings us closer to Jefferson's life and thought than ever before. He writes that his aim is not to promote or dethrone, but to explain the talented Jefferson with the tools of the archive, scrupulously examining the dramas and the traumas he faced along with the triumph he enjoyed. So this is a revealing study of the inner life of this complicated founding father. All right. So I would like to do like a read along of this with whomever is interested in the advanced review copy. So again, if you're interested, find my email and email me. And if there's more than one person, I will definitely have to do like a little random drawing. So, but anyway, yeah, it'd be fun to do like a buddy read on Voxer or something. If anyone is interested, I would like to, I'd like to kind of do more, meet more of you folks for buddy reads and not just, I'd like to not just read this in isolation. So that would be fun. So let me know what you think. And this is out today from Bloomsbury, Being Thomas Jefferson. Let's see if we can make a buddy read happen in the next couple of months. All right. Moving along. Oh, 1 second. Okay, we're back. I wanted to get another book to kind of give some context to the following book. It's a brand new release. I just got the finished copy. This book is coming out. Also today is the publication date. What perfect timing. This is the sequel. Okay, but I'll show you this book first. And I'll show you what the first book was. But this is Fly, Wild Swans by Young Chang, My Mother, Myself, and China. Now, if this sounds familiar, it's because this is the long-awaited, highly anticipated sequel to Wild Swans, 3 Daughters of China. This came out in 1991. Sorry for the focus is not working. This came out in 1991. I feel like I might have read this way back in the day, but it's so far from my memory that I want to come back to it. And so I was actually able to order this on Book Outlet for very cheap, brand new copy. So what I want to do is of course kind of read these in one after the other. This one's way bigger than the new book, but how many of you out there have read Wild Swans? It's a very it's a well-known book. It was an international bestseller. Let's see. In this book, Young Chang, or Zhang Chang, describes the life of her grandmother, a warlord's concubine, her mother's struggles as a young idealistic communist, and her parents' experience as members of the communist elite and their ordeal during the Cultural Revolution. Chang was a Red Guard briefly at the age of 14, then worked as a peasant, a barefoot doctor, a steel worker, and an electrician. So this is the first book, and of course I definitely want to read this. It's right up my alley. Love memoirs, and I love stories of people who have lived through that type of stuff. It's amazing to me. So now, but with the new book, and that's our focus right now, Fly, Wild Swans. I'll give you some more background. And guess what? This is another one that I have an extra copy of. So keep this in mind. If you were a fan of Wild Swans, then you might really want this copy here. So, yes, in 1991, Zhang Chang's epic family memoir, Wild Swans, became an international phenomenon, chronicling the experiences of Zhang, her mother, and her grandmother, 3 daughters of China. As China transformed from empire to communist nation, Wild Swans traced a country torn apart by wars, invasions, revolution, and continuing upheaval through the lens of one family and the epic saga of their struggles, suffering, and endurance. Let's see. It goes on to talk about how well the book did and how many copies it printed. And so here we go. So now, nearly half a century later, Zhang returns with this long-awaited, highly anticipated sequel, Fly, Wild Swans, My Mother, Myself, and China, which once again traces the history of modern China through the true stories of 3 generations of women in her family. So this book continues the story of Zhang's family and China from the late 70s until today. During this time, China rises from a decrepit and isolated state to a world power challenging American dominance as Zhang makes a new life in the West, one of the first Chinese to leave her homeland at the end of the Cultural Revolution. Awed at her newfound sense of freedom and emboldened as China's restrictions loosen, Zhang nonetheless remains intimately entwined with her native land, keenly aware that any misstep may bring repercussions to her family. As she becomes a writer, the relationship with her homeland is made far more complex as she embraces her role as a chronicler of China's returns to authoritarianism. Facing increased surveillance as Chairman Xi Jinping comes to power, her freedom to write comes at an unbearable cost. Though her mother, now in her 90s, is dying in China, Zhang is not permitted to visit. Damn. A love letter to her mother and a tribute to her grandmother and father, victims of the Cultural Revolution, Fly, Wild Swans, brings Zhang's family story into the present, offering an immersive, deeply moving, and unforgettable account of life in a communist dictatorship and the threats modern China poses to the international world order. So yes, definitely need to start with Wild Swans. She kind of catches up everybody on what happened after that book, and this is not obvious. It's about 300 pages, a little bit over 300 pages. But this one is definitely pretty beefy. Again, I found it for real cheap, and I got it when Book Outlet was having a sale. They still might have a copy available if anyone's interested in kind of backing up and starting at the beginning. This book's well over almost 560 pages. So, yeah, but I'm so ready for this. So this is going to be on my reading. Oh, and I should say that Fly, Wild Swans, the publisher is Harper. Touchstone was the publisher for the Wild Swans. But anyway, guys, I do have an advanced reader copy of Fly Wild Swan. So if you're interested, email me. Find my email address in the About tab under my business address. It's another great book that could also be another fun buddy read. So just have to get these scheduled in the first quarter of the year. So okay, let's keep moving on. Now this sounds so good. I almost wanted to put this in my pile of I've been accruing some true crime titles lately. I think that comes from my interest in fiction of murder mysteries. Again, I think it touches on a lot of human beings' interests in the unknown and things that we can't seem to solve. I'm always fascinated by things that just seem to have no answer, or one block says this is what happened, the other block says this is what happened, and it's just like only God knows. So I've got a stack of true crime that I want to show you with some new releases too. But this one, I guess, could kind of fit into that bracket, as well as history. This book is coming out January 20th from Grand Central Publishing, and this is The Typewriter and the Guillotine, an American journalist, a German serial killer in Paris on the eve of World War II, by Mark Browd. Doesn't that sound like it's going to be a good one? Yeah, so this will be out next week. Keep your eyes out for it. This is of course it is. Of course, Janet Flanner. It's about Janet Flanner, and if anyone, I feel like only a certain age bracket might know who this is, but I cut my teeth reading about Sylvia Beach, the Paris literati in the 20s and 30s, Shakespeare's, what was the name of her shop? Now I'm blanking on it. Sylvia Beach's bookstore in Paris. Anyway, but Janet Flanner was a journalist who kind of was an expatriate over there for a while. And I've got a bunch of Janet Flanner's books of journalism, also of some of her, I think she had some fiction, or was it memoir? I don't know. But anyway, let's get into this. This is going to be good. This is the thrilling, untold story of the trailblazing writer who sounded the alarm about the rise of fascism in Europe while becoming enmeshed in the sensational case of a German serial killer stalking the streets of the French capital on the eve of World War II. In 1925, Janet Flanner took an assignment to write a regular... Oh, that's right. Yep. That's what I purchased. I purchased some used copies of her Letter from Paris. There was a collection of her writings. Yes, Janet Flanner took an assignment to write a regular letter from Paris for a lighthearted magazine called The New Yorker, started by some friends in New York. Her employer, self-consciously apolitical, sought only breezy reports on French art and culture. But as she woke to the frightening signs of rising extremism, economic turmoil, and widespread discontent in Europe, Flanner ignored her editor's directives, reinventing herself, her assignment, and The New Yorker in the process. So good. While working tirelessly to alert American readers to the dangers of the Third Reich, Flanner became gripped by the disturbing crimes, capture, and highly politicized trial of a man who embodied all of the darkness she was forced to confront. Eugene Wiedemann, a German con man who killed 6 people in and around Paris in the late 1930s. A tightly coiled drama full of romance and intrigue, The Typewriter and the Guillotine offers the personal and professional coming-of-age story of an indomitable journalist set against a glamorous, high-stakes backdrop. Oh, fantastic. Mark Browd. He's the author of 3 books of nonfiction. Most recently, Kiki Man Ray, Art, Love, and Rivalry in 1920s Paris. Of course, Man Ray and Kiki. All right. I have not read that book, but I went through a spell where I was reading everything I could get my hands on about the just the literature, arts, culture of 1920s, 30s Paris, especially among the women there. So just fascinating stuff. This is going to be great fun for me to read and to revisit Janet Flanner. Oh, yes, can't wait. This is out next week from Grand Central Publishing, and I highly recommend you check it out. Even though I haven't read it yet, I just know this topic, you need to know who Janet Flanner was. Look her up. Okay, another book by an author, a historian that I've already has already checked the box for me. I read and reviewed his previous book for Washington Independent Review of Books. His previous book was called Half American, and it was about African Americans serving in the military in World War II and how they were treated. It's a fantastic book. So convicting. It's amazing. Well, the author, Matthew F. Delmont, has a new book coming out January 27th. So in a couple of weeks. And this is from Viking Books. And this is Until the Last Gun is Silent. A story of patriotism, the Vietnam War, and the fight to save America's soul. So I like that. The first book was focusing on the African American soldiers of World War II, and now he's moving into Vietnam. Kind of like what he's doing with that, you know. And I've also been, Vietnam has really been increasing in my interest lately for the last 4 to 5 years. Really, it never used to be on my, when I was younger in my 20s and 30s, I was like, Vietnam, it's too recent. Well, now that I'm older, I'm like, well, now it's really history. And I've just been discovering more things about Vietnam that I've been amassing a lot of books on it. And of course, the Ken Burns Vietnam documentary is fantastic. I highly recommend everyone check it out. If you don't know a lot about Vietnam and you want to learn, check out, and you maybe prefer not reading your history and you only have time to maybe watch TV, watch the Ken Burns documentary on the Vietnam War. It's on PBS, depending on what kind of streaming setup you have. You can stream the episodes, just go all in, just dedicate some time. Anyway, let's talk about Matthew Delmont's new book, which I'm really psyched to have a copy of. Okay. I don't have a pub sheet, so I just got to read from the back. As the civil rights movement blazed through America, more than 300,000 Black troops were drafted and sent to fight in the Vietnam War, which Ken Burns covers that aspect as well. And a lot of Black soldiers talk in this documentary about their experiences. Again, highly recommend it. These soldiers, often from disadvantaged backgrounds and subjected to the brutalities of racism back home, found themselves thrust onto the front lines of a war many saw as unjust. On the home front, Black anti-war activists faced another battle: opposition to the Vietnam War, vilified by key allies in the media and government as anti-American, jeopardized the fight for civil rights. For Black Americans, the Vietnam War forced a generation to question what it truly meant to fight for justice. Award-winning civil rights historian Matthew F. Delmont weaves together the stories of 2 Black heroes of the Vietnam War era: Coretta Scott King, who bravely championed the anti-war cause and eventually persuaded her husband to do the same, and Dwight Skip Johnson, a Medal of Honor recipient whose life ended tragically after returning from battle to his native Detroit. Detroit, baby, right here in my heart. It's important. Together, these extraordinary accounts expose the contradictions of Black activism and military service during the Vietnam War. Through rich storytelling, which Delmont has, because Half American was another brilliant book. I really highly recommend it. Delmont offers a portrait of this period unlike any other, shedding light on a fractured civil rights movement, a generation of veterans failed by their country, and the valor of Black soldiers and peace advocates in the midst of it all. Until the Last Gun is Silent is essential reading for anyone looking to understand the enduring legacy of Black military service, protest, and patriotism in the United States. And in case you're new to the channel, and for those of you who are old hands here, let me just say, and you know that military service and veterans I support, and this is my whole channel kind of really started based off of military history, and it's kind of really just grown, and it shows, all the different areas that I read, but I just got a soft spot for military history, veterans, memoirs, and just the experience that our soldiers have had in any of our wars. And so this is right up my alley. Really excited about this. I hope to get a finished copy of this. And once I do, I would be happy to do a giveaway of this, although I think I know someone who would probably like this. You know who you are. I say it every video that you know who you are. Anyway, coming out from Viking Books, January 27th, Until the Last Gun is Silent, by an author, a historian that I really, really enjoy. Okay, moving on. Let's do this one first. Now, this gentleman will, for many of you in World War II history, you might already have some of his other books in this series. I have a couple of them, but I think they're in between the UK and America. They have different covers, and I'm trying to figure out. This one is very highly illustrated. Anyway, I think this is the UK version, but this is Frank McDonough's book, coming out January 27th, from Head of Zeus Publishers. This is The Hitler Years, Holocaust, 1933 to 1945. Again, put out by Head of Zeus, which is, again, a UK publisher. But I was able to get this review copy, although it's the finished copy, and I'm super stoked by it. It is, like I said, move the microphone out of the way, richly. It is just really, really overloaded with, look at this, and even color. Oh, wow. Crazy. This is going to be a crazy hard book to read. But and as we know from this portrait, these are the train tracks leading into Auschwitz. And looking at this cover reminded me of this interesting virtual tour I took a couple of years ago. And I think I mentioned it on this show 2 years ago when I was living in my old place. It was something else. It was a virtual tour, and I got to, like, it takes you, it's like you're almost there, and it takes you through these gates. And then the facilitator was this Polish man, he does these virtual tours. I wonder if they still do them. I can only say I highly recommend it. I think I paid like $40 or $50 for the tour, and it was like something I'll never forget, because he takes you into all the different places within Auschwitz. And if you're never going to make it there, like I will never make it there, it's as close as I can get to see it. But anyway, that's what that cover reminded me of. So let me just get into this with you real quick. Let's see. All right. Let me hold it up here. Going to get some glare, of course. Best-selling historian Frank McDonough tackles the subject in the same way as his brilliantly reviewed and best-selling titles in this series. Yes, so he does have the series, and they all start with the Hitler Years, and then you've got your subtitle. So the penultimate title in the Hitler's Germany series, the book marks the end of the Second World War and the end of the Nazi regime, offering the reader a sweeping narrative tackling the major characters, significant events of this historic period of Nazi doctrine formed in the early years of the 1920s that would evolve into full-blown genocide of a race of people by the end of World War II. The Hitler Years, Holocaust, 1933 to 45, describes in detail the development of early persecution formulated by Adolf Hitler from as far back as the early 1920s, placing in context what was to come once the Nazi Party gained power in 1933. The Nuremberg laws to constrain the German Jewish population. Okay, there's something wrong with the way this is written. There's some awkwardness here. I'll see if I can make sense of this. It covers the country's slow slide into a pre-war policy of intimidation that would culminate in the murderous attacks on Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. As Europe marched into another global conflict in 1939, tens of thousands of German Jews had fled the country only to be swept up as Hitler's armies conquered all Western Europe. With the invasion of the Soviet Union, the secret meeting in early 1942, known as the Wannsee Conference, would utilize the war in the East to plan in intricate detail the annihilation of the Jewish population on the continent, known to all now as the Final Solution. The fully illustrated book, which I just showed you, draws together and engages with the latest scholarly research and makes extensive use of primary research, presenting a vivid and shocking narrative. A tragic and deadly period in German and European history is brought to life by one of the country's premier scholars. Yes. So, yeah, his most recently, The Hitler Years, is a 2-volume history charting the rise and fall of the Nazi regime. So I think, what was the other one? Oh, the Weimar. That's it. And I have that one. It's on my shelf. I have the Weimar years, and then we go into this one. But I know that there's a Frank McDonough has 2 other books that I keep seeing. Oh, I don't know. I think they just might be the American versions. But anyway, I've got the UK versions, and this one is coming out January 27th. So, and it's fully illustrated. So this is going to be a very engrossing read. And I wanted you guys to know that it was coming out. So keep on the lookout for that. Okay. Let's see. We've got a couple more books. We got a few more books. Let me just get through them. We're at 30 minutes. Well, I thought I had a pub sheet. Maybe it's in this one. No, it's not. But I've got a big, beefy book. I've got a finished copy, but guess what? Here's another one where it's another giveaway. I'm excited to check this one out. This is coming from Knopf, and I'm saying it correctly this time, Knopf Publishers. And this is The Revolutionists, the story of the extremists who hijacked the 1970s by Jason Burke. I don't know if now you can see it's an orange cover. I'm losing the light outside. That's why everything's kind of getting a little funky. So this is the final copy, but I do have a big, beefy advanced reader copy. So I'm going to read the description, and whoever out there is interested, find my business email address and email me. Okay, so let me tell you what this is about. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hold up the finished, and I'll read from the back of the advanced review copy. I like to have this up so you guys can at least look at this and not my face. All right. In the 1970s, an unprecedented wave of terrorism broke out around the world. More ambitious, networked, and far-reaching than ever before, new armed groups terrorized the West with intricately planned plane hijackings and hostage missions, leaving governments scrambling to cope. Their motives were as diverse as their methods. Some sought to champion Palestinian liberation, others to topple Western imperialism or battle capitalism. A few simply sought adventure or power. Ooh, that's a heavy book. My hand is hurting. Okay. Among them were the unflappable young Leila Khaled, sporting jewelry made from AK-47 ammunition. The maverick Carlos the Jackal, with his taste for cigars, fine dining, and designer suits, and the radical leftists of the Baader-Meinhof gang, or the Japanese Red Army. Their attacks forged a lawless new battlefield 30,000 feet in the air, evading the reach of security agencies, policymakers, and spies alike. Their operations rallied activists and networks in places where few had suspected their existence, leaving a trail of chaos from Bangkok to Paris to London to Washington, D.C. Veteran foreign correspondent Jason Burke provides a thrilling account of this era of spectacular violence, drawing on decades of research, recently declassified government files, still secret documents, and original interviews with hijackers, double agents, and victims still grieving their loved ones. The Revolutionists provides an unprecedented account of a period that definitively shaped today's world and probes the complex relationship between violence, terrorism, and revolution. From the Munich Olympics to the Iranian embassy siege in London to the Beirut bombings of the early 1980s, Burke invites us into the lives and minds of the perpetrators of these attacks, as well as the government agents and top officials who sought to foil them. Charting, too, such shattering events as the Iranian Revolution and the Lebanese Civil War, he shows how, by the early 1980s, a campaign for radical change led by secular leftist revolutionaries had given way to a far more lethal movement of conservative religious fanaticism that would dominate the years to come. Driven by an indelible cast of characters moving at a breakneck pace, full of detail and drama, of course, The Revolutionists is the definitive account of a dark and seismic decade. Oh, okay. So Jason Burke, yeah, he's got 4 critically acclaimed books. I'm trying to see if I've read anything else by him. He wrote The New Threat, The 9/11 Wars, Al Qaeda, and On the Road to Kandahar. And he lives in London. So what a unique, kind of a very dynamic history. This focusing thing is just driving me nuts. Hi, focus. There we go. Okay. Again, this is, did I find out when this is coming out? I lost the pub sheet for it, guys. Check it out, Google it. It'll tell you when it's coming out, but I do know that this is, wait a minute, I have it right here. Today's the publication date of The Revolutionists. So you can go out and get this today, tomorrow, whenever. It's out right now. By Knopf. And like I said, one of you lucky guys out there or gals, if you're interested in this advanced reader copy. And if you don't know what an advanced reader copy is, let me just give you the disclaimer. It's an uncorrected bound proof. So you might see a couple typos or some, an extra period here or there, but the main essence of the book is here. You're not really missing much. The only thing you might be missing here might be photos, because they always put those in last. Yeah, you'll miss out on the photos in the center. Let me just say that. But if you don't care about that, I've got an extra copy for you. So I'll put that over here with the other ones. Okay. Oh yes, moving along. Okay, I want to show you this book because I'm actually going to be starting reading this this week, and I'll be writing an in-depth review of it along with the Beyond the Book section for one of my favorite places that I collaborate with all the time, and I've written reviews for years. And now I'm even doing author interviews, video interviews, which I will be sharing with you on social media. I'll be interviewing authors and asking questions for Book Browse. But yes, I will be reviewing this. This is a memoir, nonfiction memoir, coming out next week, January 20th. I've been looking forward to it for a while. I've had it on my radar for quite a bit. And this is Scaleboy by Patrice. I'm going to try this. Nganning. Patrice Nganning. Now this is an author. He has written fiction. And how I know about him is that I bought 2 of his books. He's most well known for A Trail of Crab Tracks. But there were 2 other books that preceded that. And I finally found the first book in the series, Mount Pleasant. And so I wanted to, and it's set in, I think, Cameroon. But I want to read his fiction. But when I saw that this was coming out, and this is his own handwritten, but this is his own story of his life. Hi, Teddy. You coming in for a view? That's our new puppy, Teddy. Teddy Roosevelt. Well, that's one of the reasons why we learned is that Teddy is for Teddy and Teddy Bear, Teddy Roosevelt, Teddy Bear. And also I think it's cool that a girl has the name of Teddy. Anyway, Scaleboy by Patrice Nganning. Okay, we're going to go with that. Patrice Nganning, the award-winning novelist and international activist, chronicles his youth in Cameroon and his discovery of the textures of his community and the world beyond. Let's see if I got a little bit more. Yeah, so here are the books that he's written. Patrice Nganning, the acclaimed author of Dog Days, Mount Pleasant, and most recently, A Trail of Crab Tracks, which was a 2022 New Yorker Book of the Year, and that's why I really want to read it. Hi, Teddy, with your beautiful blue eyes. Are you on camera? She's so sweet. Look at that schnauzer. Martine's made me love schnauzers now. I love dachshunds, chihuahuas, and now schnauzers. Okay, so A Trail of Crab Tracks, a New Yorker book of the year. And so anyway, in this book, he writes about his vibrant, animated youth in Cameroon, a period of upheaval and change in the country's history and in his life. Scaleboy is a memoir that brings great brightness and joy to the tumultuous years of discovering oneself and one's community. Though that there are moments of danger and confusion in his story, Nganang, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering this. I am having a problem. I don't know if I should enunciate the N or if it's silent. If anyone out there knows, please let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll act like it's silent. Ganang. Okay. Though there are moments of danger and confusion in his story, Ganang aims to present a new vision of a young Black African man's coming of age. And by the way, we have Roxy in the bed. Okay, and I love memoirs, and I love reading writers' memoirs. I love knowing how they started. Like, how did you, when did this start? When did you start writing? And what's your writing process like? So this is my advanced reader copy. So hopefully maybe after my review, I can get a finished copy for my shelf, and hopefully I'll enjoy this. I haven't started reading it yet, but like I said, I'll be writing a long form review of it for Book Browse, and also a Beyond the Book section of something that kind of pertains to the story. This is coming out in next Tuesday. I forgot to mention the publisher is Farrar, Straus and Giroux, one of my favorites. So I wanted to share that with you. Okay, another book that is coming out today from Bloomsbury. Looks like a pretty quick read, and I'm looking forward to it. Quite different, and a very bright cover. It's hot pink. This is The Queer Thing About Sin by Harry Tanner. The subtitle is Why the West Came to Hate Queer Love. And this is, like I said, out today from Bloomsbury. Let's see, what's the better part to read? I'll hold that up. Let me just slide over here so I can hold that up. This is a gripping new journey through ancient history, uncovering the origins of homophobia and the untold stories of those who dared to love. In the early days of ancient Greece, queer love was celebrated. The most famous warrior in antiquity loved another man. The poet whose lyrics were memorized by philosophers and kings sang of her desire for women. That would be Sappho, right? Men could swear oaths of undying love and live out the rest of their lives together in peace. What fragments survive of this ancient world all tell us one thing: it was not a sin to be queer. In this extraordinary book, Harry Tanner sets out on a journey to discover the origins of homophobia in the West. From the rise of belligerent tyrants to civil unrest and the birth of radical new philosophies, Tanner follows the traces of this sinister idea as it swept across the ancient Mediterranean. Wherever he discovers the roots of homophobia taking hold, from ancient Judea to imperial Rome, Tanner finds a confluence of crises mirrored across the centuries. Inequality, fear, and an obsession with self-control. This is how societies turn on their queer citizens, time and time again, since the dawn of history. This is a powerful story that draws on the rich world of the ancients to reveal how homophobia infected Western religion and ideology, the consequences of which we are still living with today, and to that end, how we can move forward and resist homophobia in the future. This is interesting. Let me share a little bit about the author, because I know maybe a lot of you who are listening right now are like, well, we'll tell you why, and I want to put it in the comments and be really, listen, I know people, I'm a Christian, so I understand that. I know how Christians operate. But let me tell you about the author, because this will explain probably why he's writing this book. Okay, so Harry Tanner earned his PhD in ancient Greek at the National University of Ireland, Galway. As a teenager, he was an evangelical Christian and came to believe homosexuality was a sin. After a period as an atheist, he He is open once again to spirituality and religion and lives a fulfilled gay life in London, where he writes and teaches ancient languages and history. Okay, I don't want to get into politics, but I can't wait to read this because I would even actually like to interview Harry Tanner if he'd like to come on the program. There's two gay folks. I have stayed a Christian, but I mean, shoot, I can talk to you endlessly about my my teens and my 20s and my 30s. I mean, it's something it's something I've dealt with all my life, feeling like an outsider in almost every group. And not saying that as a badge of honor, but it's just, it ain't easy. And you feel like you don't really have a home anywhere, even in church. I just know that, well, how open, I'm open, but it's like, do people still want me there? And that hurts, which again leads me back to Jesus Christ, my Savior. He's always there for me. The people in my church may not be, but I'm never alone. My Lord loves me, and he has made me the person that I am. And I've always left it up to him to form my steps and form my life, and he has. And I feel loved. And I follow his promptings. So all I can say is that what this young man, as growing up, probably knew that he had same-sex attractions, but he had to accept, homosexuality as a sin, even though those words were never fully, the Hebrew, the Aramaic, whatever, in homosexual, the word didn't even come about until the 19th century. So all those things in the Bible, that it comes down to a matter of translation and interpretation. So there you have it. But the fact that he went to atheism, probably because he felt like, well, what the hell? I can't be, who I am. It's a sin. So you know what? I'm not even going to believe in God. And that's the sad thing. That's the biggest loss right there. God doesn't want to lose his people. He doesn't want to lose anyone, whether you believe in him or not. He does not want to lose anyone. So the fact that Harry Tanner is coming back to spirituality and religion, I think that's a great thing. I look forward to reading this. Maybe I can follow up with a publicist and see if he might be interested in coming on the channel. Okay. When is this coming out? Okay. I was looking at some of the books I'm currently reading that I'll be reviewing, but they are not coming out until March. So I'm going to save those for end of February to show you for the March books. These are two more books from University Press, University of Nebraska Press, that have come in late, but these are books that are, oh, this one's not until February. So hang on. I thought this one was. Okay, I have one more book to show you, which is great because we're coming up on my usual 50 minutes. I received this a little bit later, but this is the first book from the University of Nebraska Press. This published on January 1st of 2026. Sounds pretty interesting. It's just another kind of almost like textbook in a way. But this is The Great Upheaval: War, Migration, and Transformation in Early Modern America, 1675 to 1725, which was that's a very interesting window, those 50 years. So let's see, in this beautiful naked hardcover, Nebraska Press. Let me give you the description. The Great Upheaval seeks to challenge the periodization employed by most Anglophone scholars of colonial North America, and to better integrate scholarship of North America and the Atlantic world with broader early modern history. So this definitely is like going to read more of a textbook, academic. Imperial crises were not mere disturbances in a long story of imperial consolidation that began in the early 17th century. For a half a century, these crises, not growth or stability, were the norm. The contributors treat these numerous outbreaks of violence not as interruptions in a provincial era, but as marking a distinct period in time. the Great Upheaval. The rigidly enforced social hierarchies in colonial North America during this era accelerated the exchange of people, goods, and ideas in unprecedented volumes, accompanied by rising Anglophone military and commercial power at sea, and a population increase of colonists that were all not only preceded by, but made possible by the Great Upheaval. Okay, so I think they're saying that these are a selection of essays by different folks. Let me see. Oh, yes, because it's edited by Ian Saxene and Crystalline Marie Sheffield. Okay. Yes. So it's a collection of essays that look really good. Rebellions and Indian Slavery, the Great Upheaval in Virginia. Then we have Southern New England's Great Upheaval. And then another chapter has an article on Restoration through Upheaval, the Pueblo Revolt, and the Transformation of the Southwest. Oh, and then one by the Witchcraft Crisis and the End of Puritanism. This is going to be great. Sometimes I like books that are just I can just dive into and pick out. If I just want to go in and read that one on witchcraft and the end of Puritanism, I can just hop right in. Obviously you want to read them as a whole, but if you just kind of want to pick and choose, this looks like a really good book just to get some different perspectives. Okay, guys, so that is out. It was out January 1st. So that is what I have as far as new history releases that have come into me here at the History Shelf for January. And I'm trying to figure out if I have some others that I've already reviewed or sent in my reviews for that I could show you maybe in another video. But either way, let's recap. Your homework assignment is that we have, did I say 4 books that I was doing a giveaway for? I did. Okay, well, I have 3. Because I realized one of these extra copies, I think I know someone I'm going to send it to. So I'm going to take that one out. But it was basically the same book. I just had 2 copies of the book. Okay. For any of you interested in the Revolutionists, the story of the extremists who hijacked the 1970s, by Knopf and Jason Burke, go into the About tab on my homepage channel, my channel's homepage. Go to the About, scroll down where it'll say business email, and you have to click on it, and then it reveals what that email address is. Email me, put it in the subject line. And like I said, if there's more than one person, I will have to, I'll give this about a week. I'll see how many responses come in a week from today, which is the 20th. And I'll do that as the cutoff date. Okay. And so the next book, Wild Swans. If you read Wild Swans in the past and you loved it, or if you're just, this is right up your alley, let me know as well. And this is from Harper. And then a book that I would love to arrange maybe a group buddy read on, because I have an extra copy and I know who I'm sending this to. Being Thomas Jefferson, you guys, from Bloomsbury. These books are out today. So let me know in a week. I will take a look at all the emails that have come in. Again, if you're the only person who requested one of these, you are automatically getting it. But know that if you do this and you are chosen, you have to be okay with maybe doing a buddy read and setting up a Voxer account. If you have questions about that, put that in your email and I can answer you. But Voxer is a fun way to leave little voice messages. You can also text. And that's what I do with my friends on BookTube, specifically Bill Rutenberg and Patrice Jones. But I'd love to make some new Voxer buddy read friends as well. So there's your assignment. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, that's me. I get the History Shelf. Go ahead and give me a like, give me a subscribe if you're new here. But anyway, tell me what you thought about these new books coming out in January. I've got a bigger stack for February. A lot of new things are coming out in February. So anyway, thanks for sticking around for this 54-minute video. I never seem to be able to make short ones. It's just my style. But until next time, guys, thanks for viewing. Be safe out there. Look out for your neighbor. Be kind. Be kind. And I know that you are, because you guys are great. I'll talk soon. I'll have another video coming your way, hopefully in the next few days, because I miss making videos. It's been a rough week for everybody in this country. So let's get back to just being kind, being loving. I'll end here. All right, guys, take care. I'll see you back here soon on the History Shelf. Bye.